everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. In this video, I did some research, put together some numbers, found something very interesting about, there's the whole thing that we've been talking about recently about the gospel needing to go to every nation, kindred, and tongue, right? This has been kind of like a thing that comes up from time to time. Sometimes people will come on, leave a comment. Well, we're not even close because we haven't been in every country. There's so many countries that still haven't had missionaries in them. And there's like a whole array of different interpretations. Some people think that literally every person on earth has to have a missionary visit. Other people think that there has to be at least one ward or stake set up in every single country within the political boundaries of a country. Um, all sorts of different things. Now, what I did, what kind of inspired this is from several videos back that we talked about this topic. I came across the article remembering that the first presidency had met with the Pope at the Vatican. Right, the Vatican is like a city state. It's its own country, even though it's inside the city of Rome and inside of the country of Italy. It's its own country, and therefore it's a country. And when I was thinking about this, and then thinking about when President Nelson met with the Pope, it's not just missionaries with name tags that share the gospel. Ultimately, it's the apostles that are over missionary work. And so this kind of got me thinking about the idea. Man, I've seen President Nelson, especially President Nelson, meeting with so many people from so many different organizations and countries and religions that, in a way, I think that they themselves are bringing this to pass, that the gospel is going to go to every nation, kindred, and tongue. You see what I'm saying? And so there's this recent article. This is from the 16th of May. It says President of UN General Assembly meets with First Presidency. And I thought that was pretty interesting, eye-opening. Joni from Joyous Genealogist channel, we were talking and she brought this up. She reminded me of this story. And so I was like, you know what? I need to like put together a spreadsheet. I need to go through and see how many meetings we have record of where the first presidency has met with people from countries or places or influential people like this. You know, how many people have they themselves spoken to, when it comes to countries that we don't really have access to? So you get where I'm going with this. So I put together a spreadsheet and it's pretty interesting. So before we jump into that, let me give you an update on the Book of Mormon sharing challenge. So, or the hashtag Flood the Earth challenge. We are at 5,752 copies of the Book of Mormon that have been shared. So we're closing in on 6,000, which is great. We're at 560 people that have reported to me that they've shared the Book of Mormon. You don't have to report to me. Just consider doing it, though, because if I can add your stuff to this tracker, it encourages other people to take action. There's a multiplier effect. Please do it. I can't believe that there's only 560 people. It's actually a little bit more than that because some people have been anonymous and I just clump all their numbers together under an anonymous entry. But it wouldn't take us over 1,000. So please do this. And we have a report by Wade of someone that just got baptized. And I'd been following Wade's comments. He's like, okay, he has a baptismal date set. And then the next time, I think it was on Saturday, I think, he's like, I'm actually going to be going to his baptism today. And then I was just waiting for that final confirmation, and it happened. So congratulations to Wade and his friend. They got baptized. We're now at 16 people that have been baptized as a result of this challenge. Not taking credit. It's not a competition, but it is a very useful mechanism and inspiration and motivator for us to do the work that we probably wouldn't have done. We have the responsibility to share the gospel, so please do it and use this to your advantage. Okay, so let's see. How should I do this? Before we get into the spreadsheet, let me share a quote that I thought was pretty eye-opening. We've already covered this, but remember this right here. This is from uh, M. Russell Ballard. At the time, he would have been just in the Quorum of the 12. He wasn't president of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles yet. This was back in October 2008, General Conference, a talk called "The Truth of God Shall Go Forth." Look what he's saying here in 2008. That was a long time ago. What were you doing in 2008? Me? Well, actually, around this time, I was having my first child. That was a long time ago. That's when I was still living in Utah. Okay, so I'm just going to read the last part here. Okay, he says the little church that started in 1830 was just a handful of members. With just a handful of members, has now grown to more than 13 million Latter day Saints in many different nations around the world. And we are well on our way to penetrating every continent, visiting every clime, sweeping every country, and sounding in every year. So I'm not going to go through all these quotes again. I did a video where we went through all these. You can come here anytime you want to. I've had a number of messages of people saying that they can't access the contents of the cell, like this one, for example, right here. I'm really sorry. I don't know a better way to do this. Like, yes, I could like start a website, um, but I really need to use these spreadsheets. And so anyway, the best solution that I have for you, I think on your side, if you double click on the cell, just like I do, it'll pop out all the contents of the cell. You see this, and then you can scroll up and down like this, as though it's its own window. If that doesn't work, then copy the cell and then paste it somewhere else, and then it'll give you everything that's in there. Um, Unfortunately, I have to keep my spreadsheets view only. It's not because I don't trust you, but like if there's like an accident that happens, like say that you're like playing around on the spreadsheet, you step away to go get some food or something, and then your 3-year-old comes to the computer and starts pushing buttons. Information can be lost very, very fast, and things can get screwed up really, really fast. Um, I mean, of course, you could do the undo button, but I can't take chances. Hopefully, you understand that. And if I ever find a better way to do this, then I'll do it. But for right now, it has to be like this. I have to have it organized like this. So I'm sorry for the inconvenience. So okay, but anyway, this is something that they keep talking about. There's a lot of talk about this all the way until present. In fact, we have this from the most recent General Conference. Gary E. Stevenson, the greatest Easter story ever told. Credit to Richard and Martin Neiman and Jilly. They're the ones that brought this up. Let me read this one. Dear brothers and sisters, the time has come, foretold by prophets of old, when the knowledge of a Savior shall spread throughout every nation, kindred, tongue, and people. We are seeing the fulfillment of this prophecy before our very eyes through the witness of Jesus Christ found in the Book of Mormon. Okay, so the Book of Mormon, we are seeing this fulfilled through the Book of Mormon. It's happening right now. So let's look at the actual raw data, or at least what I was able to compile. And let's do it. Let's go like this, and then let's go like this. Okay, I'm going to hide one column for right now. We'll look at that at the end. Okay, so there's been a number of times that I've gone to this Wikipedia article, which is not up to date, you know. Um, but it's a pretty good list of all the countries. This is called List of Mormon Missionary Entries by Country. All right. And the last entry that they have on here is Senegal in 2017. And then when you go to the very bottom, it has the remaining countries that have not had missionaries inside officially at any point in that country's history. Now, the Gambia right here in 2022, they did the country was dedicated for missionary work. This country was opened last year, and I have that. If you go down here past this first set of countries, these first countries that I have on the spreadsheet are the ones where we haven't had missionaries yet. And then after that, I go to the list of countries that have had missionaries. And then if you go to the first columns here, it tells you the year that that country was opened. All right. So the Gambia is the most recent that I know of. If I missed a news article, then let me know. But the Gambia should have been the most recent. Okay. So using this article, okay, and taking these countries that have not had missionaries in them, I compiled this list, put it in alphabetical order. And what I decided to do is to look at a few different things. First, I wanted, well, no, that this isn't exactly how it worked out, but the first column, column D, is this a country that's within a country? So, for example, uh, let me find the best example of that. Let's go to Liechtenstein or whatever. I think it's Liechtenstein. Here's Liechtenstein. Okay. It's a tiny country. You only have like a handful, you only have a few cities, it looks like. Maybe like one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. Maybe there's like some smaller ones, like smaller villages, but whatever. You get the idea. It's a tiny country. You scroll out and you see that it is essentially surrounded by Switzerland and Austria. So it's a country with, I mean, not strictly within a country within one country, but it's like it's small. It might as well not even exist, essentially. Okay. When you go to the meeting house locator on the church website, this is a great way to see where we have meeting houses and wards and all this stuff. So let's go to Liechtenstein right here. And you'll see that no, we don't have any meeting houses in Liechtenstein, but you can see just right down here in Lonquart, there's a meeting house, and that doesn't look too far away. Or if you're in the northern part of the country, there's some other ones up here. I don't know if those are closer or not. It looks like Lonquart would still probably be closer. I don't know, but you get the idea. So let me give you another example of this. On my mission, I served in the Spain Barcelona mission, and part of my mission was the tiny little country of Andorra. And I can't speak to Liechtenstein and other places, but Andorra is essentially, it might as well just be part of Spain. Um, has a long history. There's a reason why it's its own little country, but for all intents and purposes, you go up there, you don't need to speak Catalan. The Catalan is it's like the official language, but everybody there speaks Spanish. You wouldn't even know that you're in a different country. Okay, I don't know so much about places like Liechtenstein and San Marino and Monaco and stuff like that, but I'm assuming that they're similar. That you wouldn't really know that that you're not technically in Italy or France or Switzerland or Austria or whatever. Okay, so I think that that's significant. So no, we don't have missionaries in Liechtenstein, but do we need to? These people, they don't just stay in Liechtenstein. They they go, and they work, or they have family. Like, look at this. You don't think that people from Scotland, uh, that they don't go to Brew or Books all the time or Grab? What are these names? Grabs, Books, Rafis, Sevelin. I'm pretty sure that they do. They probably shop. They probably work. And as they're commuting or, you know, having a day off, it's the weekend or something, I'm pretty sure that they come in contact with the missionaries that are in Switzerland, okay, or on the other side in Austria, okay. And by the way, I know people always get mad at my laughing. I'm never trying to be like disrespectful, okay. I'm not a mean-spirited person. Hopefully, you understand that. It's just it's okay to laugh at things. Um, Okay, so you understand why I would create this category of is it a country within a country? Because if it is, most likely they're having a lot of contact with that country that surrounds them, um, and are probably coming in contact with missionaries. Another thing that I looked at was uh, from, okay, is that country within an hour of a meeting house. So again, in Liechtenstein, yes, you could drive less than an hour away, according to Google Maps. There is a meeting house that's less than an hour away, at least from the border of Liechtenstein. If we look at, let's look at uh, Bruni. Let's go there. Let me show you something with Bruni. Okay, so Bruni, it basically is. I think it looks like it's kind of a country within a country, but let's pretend that it's not. Just as an example. So here you can see a meeting house in Malaysia. Okay, and you can see it doesn't look like it's that far away from Kapung, Sungai, Taraban, Rasau, or Kuala, Baylight, or Panaga, or Seria. Probably not too far, and in fact, it's not. It's less than an hour away. So now, admittedly, I don't know the politics or the diplomatic relations between Brunei and Malaysia. I don't know if um, it's hard to cross the border, if you're allowed to, if they have closed borders. I don't know. So I admit I don't know that. But assuming that you can somewhat easily cross the border, then people living in Kuala Belait, it's not going to be too hard for them to make it down here to go to church. And just like Liechtenstein, they probably work in places over here. There was a girl when we were living in Arizona. Um, we had a French missionary, and she lived in France, but she would commute every day and basically live her life in Switzerland. And she actually said that she felt like she's more Swiss than French. So for her, she had dual citizenship. That's another thing to take into account. And so she would do a lot of her living and working in life in Switzerland. So that's something to take into account. All right, going back here. Okay, so that explains these two columns. And then the next ones, they're self-explanatory. Is this a country that has a temple in it? Are there meeting houses? Is there a district, a branch, a stake, a ward? So let's just start at the beginning. Afghanistan, no. Algeria, no. Anguilla or Anguilla, I don't know how you pronounce it. Um, so it's color coded red, meaning that it doesn't have any meeting houses and it doesn't have a temple, but it does fit these other two uh, things right here. Less than an hour away, country within a country. In the case of Anguilla, um, there is a meeting house less than an hour away from the border. Okay. Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Bangladesh, Bhutan, no, nothing. British Virgin Islands, it kind of is. It's somewhat in a country within a country. It's not. I mean, not really. I don't know. I'm still going to leave it like that, but it doesn't matter. In the British Virgin Islands, there is a meeting house and there is a branch. It's in there, so there might not be missionaries there, but they have a meeting house and they have a branch. Brunei, what we were just looking at, country within a country and less than an hour away. Burkina Faso or whatever. There's meeting houses within an hour from the border. China. Okay, nothing in Chad. China. We don't have missionaries in China, but amazingly, and I don't really know the ins and outs of this, there are two temples, or at least there's going to be two temples. There's the one in Hong Kong, and then there's going to be one in Shanghai. Uh, I think. Okay, what was it? Isn't it something like they're gonna like close the Hong Kong temple for a little bit? Like I don't know if there's like renovation, but they were gonna open the one in Shanghai. I don't understand. I don't know. If you know more about it, put it in the comments. But when it's all said and done, it seems that China, mainland China, is gonna have two temples. From what I could see on the meeting house locator, there was one meeting house in Macau. Within that meeting house, there were two branches, and then there is a district in China. Okay, so there you go. You have the gospel there. Someone is going to the temple there, um, and I don't think it's just foreign people. I don't know though. If you know more about it, let me know. But I'm sure there's probably Chinese nationals that attend these temples and go to these things. But I don't know. Let me know if you know. Comoros, no. Cuba, I actually didn't know this, but they have 2 meeting houses. They have a district and a branch. I put now. I think this one's kind of confusing because there was the one. Let me just show you so you know I'm not crazy. Although some of you already think that I'm crazy, but let me go over to Cuba. Okay, when you, I think you have to type it in. Cuba. You zoom in on Havana. Why is it not showing up? Havana, Cuba. There it is. See? So this green one right here, it says Havana, Cuba District. Let's search that again so it comes back. But then over here in Leader, I don't know, it has a building over here. So I don't really understand. That's why I have 2 buildings. But all I can see is that there's the Havana, Cuba District, which is like a stake when it's not a full stake. And then there's the Havana branch. So I don't know. Anyway, if you know more about that, let me know. Okay, Djibouti. Okay, you have a whole list of ones right here. Nothing, 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 nothing. Remember, Greenland is not its own country. It's a territory of Denmark. So I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why they have that under the countries. Let me just show you. Okay, it is an island country. Oh, it is its own country? That is a part of the Kingdom of Denmark. It is one of 3 countries that form the Kingdom of Denmark, the others being Denmark and the Faroe Islands. The citizens of all these countries are citizens of Denmark and of the European Union. The capital of Greenland is Nuuk. Okay, so that's something I didn't know. I always thought that it was just like a province. I didn't know that it was like a country that was part of a kingdom that's part of the European Union. Okay, I'm surprised I didn't know that. Anyway, I guess that's why it's on there. Okay, moving on. Liechtenstein, we already did that. Country within a country and less than an hour away. Mali has meeting houses, has a meeting house and a branch. These ones right here are countries within countries, or meeting houses are very close. Mauritania, Monaco, and Myanmar or Burma, whichever one you want to go by. San Marino, which is in Italy, country within country, and yes, meeting houses are less within an hour from there. United Arab Emirates, there is going to be a temple there. There is a meeting house there, and there is actually a stake in 2 wards in that country. And then Vatican City. Now, the residents of Vatican City are, from what I understand, they're all like church. You know, uh, they're probably all ecclesiastical. I actually don't know. I don't know if there's like, if you work for Vatican City, if there's like places there for you to live. It doesn't look like it's very big, so probably not. Let's take a look really quick. I think it's mostly, for all intents and purposes, it's like mostly a compound more than a city. It's like just like a big compound, but there's a museum up there. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's very many places to live if you're a resident. So most likely, I'm guessing that most people here are like clergy, ecclesiastical, the Pope himself, of course. But I don't know, maybe there's some residences here. Maybe there's like dorms or whatever they would call it. All right. So, and then that's it. Okay, now the other thing to keep in mind, and this is really interesting, I think, and we've talked about this a number of times. I got the number of people from these respective countries that have immigrated to the United States. I tried to do the same thing for like the European Union or Europe as a whole, but I haven't been able to find a site that really breaks it down. I got this information from this website, worldpopulationreview.com. At the bottom, they have their sources where they got this, and there's like 9 different sources, some from Pew, Department of Homeland Services, and other stuff. So it may not be the most accurate, but I think for our purposes here, it's good enough. It gives us a general idea. It's important to note that these numbers are the estimated total number of people that immigrated to the United States from the years 2011 to 2020. So it doesn't include outside that time. You have to take that into account. There's always been people immigrating to the United States from the very beginning, and it hasn't stopped since 2020. So these numbers are going to be probably very small compared to the entire history of the United States, or from the time of, let's say, 1830 until now when the church was established, or before that, whatever, however you want to think of it. So these are small numbers, and this is just the United States. Remember, there's a whole host of other countries that are free where there are missionaries. Um, Pretty much all of Europe for the most part. There are places in Africa. There are places in Asia. Um, Down here in Oceania, of course, the probably the biggest places of which where you would come across missionaries would most likely be the Philippines, Australia, New Zealand, and then of course North and South America. There's people always on the move for different reasons. Sometimes because of work, sometimes they're seeking asylum, sometimes they're escaping war or whatever. There's always people on the move from everywhere. So you have to take that into account. So as we look at the United States, we're only looking at a very small period of time within the United States. And it's just the United States. It's not Canada, Australia, and all these other places. Okay. So think about this in terms of, we don't have missionaries in Iran. We don't have missionaries in whatever, Afghanistan. Well, we may not have them there, but they are coming to where the missionaries are, and not in small numbers. So let me show you. So Afghanistan, 90,000. 90,000 people from Afghanistan. 17,000 from Algeria. 203 from Anguilla, or sorry, it's the Spanish. I always want to. Anguilla, I don't know. Azerbaijan, 8,000. 1,300 for Bahrain. Look at Bangladesh. Bangladesh is a big Muslim country. 145,000. 145,000. Bangladesh. Bhutan, 54,000. Dang it, that's bothering me now. I'm right, aren't I? Bangladesh? I thought Bangladesh is like mostly a Muslim country. I just have to satisfy this itch. Give me just a second. Bangladesh. Muslim. Yeah, the country has a Bengali Muslim majority. That's right. So I was right. All right. So that's significant for so many people coming from a mostly Muslim country. Bhutan, 54,000. China has a very significant number, almost a million. Almost a million people from China, 713,000. Cuba is also very sizable, 468,000. That goes back all the way to the Cuban Revolution. When Cuba became a communist country, there's been so many people that have fled Cuba. And then you see the rest. Look at Iraq, 147,000. Okay. Nepal, 114,000. So virtually all these countries that we don't have missionaries in, these people have come to us here in the United States. Some of these are probably they're missing numbers like Wallace and Fortuna, but that might be because it's such a small country, no one's come, or there just may not be very good reporting on it, or whatever the case may be. No one's gonna immigrate from Vatican City, obviously. San Marino, that's in Italy. So there's some of these like very small places where there's just like either no data or just no one's left there, because it's like what. think North Korea was on here. Even North Korea has 507. These are probably people that escaped North Korea. I'm guessing that's where that number comes from. But anyway, the one that I was hoping that we would have was Myanmar, Burma. But I know I want to say that they have like a dictatorship over there. There's always been like intense struggle and oppression and stuff in that place. So, but just like North Korea, I'm pretty sure some people have left and have come to the United States. So I don't know why we don't have any data on them, but whatever. So this is what I want to share with you today. This is going to take a long time for me to put together because what I'm going to do, like I said, I'm going to list, um, and I'm not sure how I'm going to do it. I might have, I want to have it all here in the same place, but somehow I want to put the fact that church leaders, the prophet, met with the Grand Mufti of Azerbaijan. That was a recent story that I covered. The Mufti, that's like a Muslim leader. So I, I'm going to find a way to put it on here. Um, and I guess we'll probably like color code it or something. I'll figure out the color coding. But I wouldn't be surprised if church leaders have met virtually with all these countries, with leaders, whether it's government or social or civic or something, religious leaders from these countries. That'll be interesting to see. Now, these other countries where we have had missionaries, some of them have since closed. So they're on this list. I'll have to go through this entire thing and figure this out. For example, Israel. If you missed the video where I talked about this, Israel was one of the first that had anybody from our church go there. It was Orson Hyde, but there was a mission. I think it was the mission of Turkey, but it included Palestine. And there have been missionaries in that area that have died there. So we have record of that. Um, you have to think about this too. Israel is a new country. Relatively speaking, it's a baby. It's a baby compared to all these other countries. And so it is still growing. You have the ingathering of the exiles. That's how Judaism looks at it, the ingathering of the exiles. And yes, it is. There's essentially two diasporas that took place. First, it was the northern kingdom that was taken captive by Assyria, scattered, lost their identity. They've been scattered throughout the world. We're working on that right now so that we have that ingathering of those exiles, the northern kingdom. But there's also this gathering that's taking place to the land of Israel. And many people before, okay, I'm not going to say many. What am I talking about? You have to think that there's a sizable Jewish population in the United States and in Europe who, grow up there, and then it's time that they want to make aliyah, which is immigrating to Israel. And surely they've had the chance to receive the gospel before they go to Israel. So you have to think about that. Like, think about it in reverse, time in reverse. They're in Israel now, and now they don't have access to missionaries, but going back in time, they did have a chance. So there's a lot of different factors to take into account, not the least of which is the internet. We've talked about the internet as well. The internet by itself probably takes care of that prophecy about the gospel going to every nation, kindred, and tongue. When we're talking about entering countries, entering different ethnic groups and tribes and whatever, cultures, So I do tend to think that we have gone far and wide, and I'm not waiting in my mind. I'm not in a position of authority to say, but if I had to guess right now, I would guess that this prophecy is basically good to go, that Christ could come. You also have to take into account, this is going to be the last factor, and this is just a reminder. There's still going to be people that are not members of our church in the millennium, at least in the beginning. And that's going to be the greatest time um, of need for missionaries. We've read that, in fact. Let me see if I can find it really quick. Right here. This is Joseph Fielding Smith, Doctrines of Salvation, Volume 3, page 64. The gospel will be taught far more intensely and with greater power during the millennium, until all the inhabitants of the earth shall embrace it. The implication is that not every single person will have received the gospel or had a chance to receive the gospel before the second coming. So I don't buy that every single person has to hear it. I think it gets to the point where everyone's mostly had a fair chance, speaking in general, not individually. And then the second coming happens, and then after that, missionary work just really, really takes off now that a lot of barriers have been removed. And based on what we've studied when it comes to the time of the Jews, well, that's like when the gospel starts to go to the Jews, from what we've studied, that's going to be in the millennium, not before the second coming. So hopefully this helps everyone understand things better. It does for me. We should stick to the words of the prophets rather than our own interpretation, because we can think all sorts of different things and maybe be very logical, but all that really matters are those that know what's going on, the ones that are actually in charge of this work under Christ. They probably have a much better sense as to what's supposed to happen and how close we are to completing this mission. And from what they're saying, it seems like it's basically we're like almost there, if not already there. But that's going to be it for this one. So if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.